Okay, part 8, the last part of our tissues chapter. We're going to be taking a look at muscle and nervous tissue. In case I haven't made this clear, I don't think I have. Taking a look at the amount of time that we spend on epithelial tissue and CT, you can see that is a greater focus. And the primary reason for that is really the second half of the semester for 168. We focus on skeletal muscle and smooth muscle, and then nothing but the nervous system. So because of that, it just makes sense to spend more time on the epithelial tissue and CT. So let's get right to it with the muscle tissue. Keep in mind, there are 3 characteristics that we're going to take a look at for the 3 types of muscle tissue. There's skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and cardiac. First thing that we take a look at, you don't really have to write this down even though I am, because you will see them coming up. Are they striated or not? Striated just means that it's going to have a striped appearance. I think I have room down here. So if the cell is running one way, regardless of how short or long they are, then you're going to see this striped appearance. Those are striations, and when we get to the muscle chapter, we'll talk about how the arrangement of myofibrils inside cause that appearance. Second thing that we take a look at is how many nuclei. Is it one nucleus or are they multinucleated? Third thing that we take a look at is the type of movement. Is it voluntary or involuntary? Now, we're going to take a look at these 3 characteristics for these 3 tissues, and then keep in mind that there's going to be a special characteristic for 2 of them. All right? So, first one that we're going to talk about is skeletal muscle. We see that it is multinucleated, and it has striations, and it is voluntary. Right? So, we just took care of each of these 3 for skeletal muscle. Multinucleated, striated, voluntary. And it's skeletal muscle, your biceps, your triceps, your quads. All of those are your skeletal muscle. And we take a look here, we see that it is striated. Now I'm just going to back up one real quick. So keep in mind, we're still going to be taking a look at these 3 for the next 2 muscles as well. Now, the striations on skeletal muscle are the most apparent. I'm going to spoil alert, cardiac muscle is also striated, but the striations we don't see as well. All right. So with cardiac muscle, it is of course involuntary. It is striated and 1 nucleus per cell. However, FYI, they have recently discovered certain cardiac myocytes that have 2 nuclei. However, we're just going to keep this as an absolute. Okay. They're still just trying to figure out how common it is, why, those sorts of things. Okay. So propels blood found in the heart, and it has unique junctions called intercalated discs. If you haven't figured out yet, I really can't draw, but here it goes. So one cardiac muscle cell is going to end like this, and the other one is going to interlock. And that does a couple of different things. That allows for the transmission. When this guy contracts, the signal to contract is passed along the membrane. So if we have this high surface area here, it will immediately go to the next one because we want the heart to beat as one. Second, we also want to make sure that these cardiac myocytes are really strung together. They're held tightly together, because if you think about what the heart does, is it contracts, relaxes forever. Not forever, but as far as we're concerned. So those muscles, with skeletal muscle, if you tear a skeletal muscle, it sucks, it hurts. If you tear cardiac muscle, you die. So there's going to be some strength, some unique junctions here to make sure that they don't tear apart. So the combination of that is called intercalated discs. Microscopically, what we're going to see is that there's a heavier concentration of plasma membrane right here, so it's just going to appear as a darker line. So you still might see some faint intercalated discs, but you're going to see a much darker, you're going to see these faint lines that are the striations. Sorry about that. But then you're going to see this darker line that is the intercalated disc. Excuse me. Also keep in mind the striations are not as apparent in cardiac muscle as in skeletal muscle, and that's just simply because cardiac muscle has so much more mitochondria. Even though we can't see the mitochondria, it will interfere with our ability to see those striations. So here's the cardiac muscle, and you can see these dark lines. You can see the striations, and you can see these dark lines where one cardiac myocyte joins to another. Finally, we have smooth muscle. It is involuntary. Oh, and just to be clear, these intercalated discs, that was that special. That was our special characteristic that is unique to cardiac muscle. Skeletal muscle didn't have any, so we just have to worry about those three things. Cardiac muscle, those three things plus that special characteristic. Smooth muscle, involuntary, one nucleus, no striations. So that takes care of our three things. What we're also going to see is smooth muscle contracts via peristalsis. Peristalsis is unique to smooth muscle, and it is very strong wave-like contractions. It has a unique type of contraction that will propel substances in the hollow organs that they're found in. So it's found in the wall of hollow organs, your bronchi for air, blood vessels for blood, small intestines for food, large intestines for feces. All of that, peristalsis will be able to propel those substances in those hollow organs. So it's found in the wall of hollow organs, of course, the exception being the heart, because that has cardiac. And here's what this smooth muscle looks like. If you're in a seated class or hybrid of mine, and I mean, frankly, even completely online, you just want to watch. It's very easy to confuse this with, it's so hard to write on these, with dense regular. So you might want to spend a little bit of time going back and forth between those two. And here, what you're looking for are these nuclei of the cells, and you can see that it has this slight spindle-shaped appearance. Nervous tissue, really the only nervous tissue that we're going to be taking a look at are neurons. Nervous tissue does consist of neurons and 7 or 8 different types of supporting tissue, but my focus here is just going to be on neurons, that's it. So they transmit electrical signals. These electrical signals, might as well learn this now, are called action potentials. So found in the brain, spinal cord, and peripheral nerves. I really just want you to be able to identify a neuron with their cellular processes being either axons or dendrites. Because again, we have like 4 or 5 chapters that we're just going to be focused on the nervous system. And so here you can see this is the neuron, that is the cell body, perikaryon, the soma. Again, it's just part of a neuron that we'll get to later. You see the nuclei inside, and then you see axons and dendrites. All right. And that's it for tissues.